everybody. Thank you so much for joining us at Get the Word Out. We are talking all about manipulation. I'm so thankful Scott Aaron Rogers is with me. Have you ever been manipulated by your friends, your family, your news, your political preferences? Are they hijacking your emotions and controlling you through them? How do we stop it? How do we see and recognize when it's happening? How do we protect our friends and family from this? I feel like this is one of the most important topics we can discuss. Scott, what do you think?
I think so too. You really nailed it. You said, have you ever been scammed? Have you ever been manipulated? You know, it's all around us at all times, from all sides. And once you see it, once you know what you're looking for, you're not going to be able to avoid it, you know? And that's the most important thing we can do when it comes to psychological manipulation or thought reform, is to know that you are vulnerable.
Yes, that is the sum of what we're going to be talking today. You are brilliant at saying that. Good job. Okay, let's get comments up here. We really want to hear from you all if you are watching, what you think about this topic. So, vulnerability is the heart of this. You think it's not, but it is. Manipulation. I think we all see it. I think it's why Severance is my favorite show, because of the control and manipulation that these people are doing to the main characters in the show. I think we all feel it, and we are all scared of it, and we're all trying to stop it, and it doesn't always work. I think the first thing we should talk about is every single human being on the planet is capable of being manipulated. I
Mhm.
have been manipulated. I have made mistakes in my life because of outside forces messing with me. Have you ever been manipulated, Scott?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I have definitely been a mark in my time. Yeah.
Yeah. I notice media has really played a part. Sometimes my friends and family don't mean to do it, and they give me their negative opinions, and it does mess with me, and I have to figure it out. Um But that's step one, everybody. We all can be manipulated. And it doesn't have to be some scheming plot. It could just be a friend who has a negative viewpoint about somebody because their feelings got hurt by them. And so they tell you something negative, and then you think the same negative thing. And it's all not true, or it's all based on hurt feelings instead of facts. Um, yeah. So first, the reason I wanted to do this episode with you is because you had someone on your Who's Left show last Monday that talked about this topic. Can you go over that, Scott? Because that episode was brilliant. I'm really proud of you. Good job.
Oh, well, thank you, Sarah. I'm glad to. And I've pulled up on the screen here for those of us watching. This is my website, who'sleft.us. And that picture at the top of the screen there is Dr. Dustin Rosario Steinhagen. He just earned his PhD last year, and he is an expert on privacy and thought reform. And thought reform is kind of the technical, like clinical term for what we would call like brainwashing or mind control or psychological manipulation. They're
Okay,
all
so
those, yeah, those are all words for kind of the same
we're going to
for the
be
same technique. Yeah.
dissecting what he said, which you do not have to have listened to that to understand this episode. But if you want the doctoral, the facts from where we're getting this discussion, please check out Who's Left. It's free. It's a podcast. It's YouTube. Those are the two. It's Substack. You have a Substack, right? Scott Aaron
Is
Rogers.
that, well, yeah, my Substack now excuse me, who's left.us will take you directly to my Substack. Or so that's where I host my website, and you will find this podcast as well as my entire back catalog there.
Right. So you can listen to it or you can watch it, whichever way you want. But I recommend that. I thought it was fascinating. And then at the end of the episode, you're like, well, how do we protect us and protect our friends and family? And you spend a few minutes on it. but I wanted a whole hour on, what is the manipulation? How are we being
Hmm.
manipulated, and how do we protect ourselves, our friends and family? Because I think that's the biggest issue that we're all trying to navigate right now, especially in this extremely stressful January and February that we have all had in America. So
Hmm.
let's talk first about media. If you are watching mainstream news, if you are watching MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, Newsmax, any of those, it's not as much news as a constant barrage of manipulation. And both sides are doing it. And I want to call that out. They are trying to panic us, manipulate us, get us full of fear so that we keep watching their shows. We keep clicking on their articles. And it is hard for me to quickly, when I'm very busy and taking care of my family, to see an article that panics me and to know, should I be panicked, or are they just trying to make money off of my attention? Um, so what I do is I don't watch MSNBC. I don't watch Fox News. I turn that stuff off. But then I try to get news from more centered things that are not freaking me out. I've said this before, but I like Jessica Yellen on Instagram. She's a former, I believe, CNN reporter who left, and
Yeah.
she has something called News Not Noise because she got so disgusted panicking her viewers that she's like, that's it, I'm going to do this myself. So I follow her on Instagram. A lot of people follow her. She tries to not panic you. She tries to let you know, should we be worried about this thing that everybody's pushing out, or should we wait and find out more? And so instead of clicking those articles that pop up, I'm turning to her. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, I would say first of all, I mean that's kind of what we're trying to do here at Project Next, right, Sarah?
Yes,
Is to
exactly.
cut through the noise and talk about like what really matters. Now the thing is, and I'm gonna share another screen here. I pulled up this lovely YouTube video with this charismatic looking fellow, and we'll share this YouTube video in the show notes later. But it is from an organization called American English, and it's from a British perspective, talking about American news and the way why things are the way we are here. Now, Sarah, you're what a couple years younger than I am, right? Do you
Right.
remember when the only news on TV was like the network news at 6 o'clock
Yes.
or whatever?
I remember watching the local news with my grandma and actually finding out stuff about Southern Indiana and Louisville. Yes.
Hmm. Well, and if you do want to zoom out to the national level, um, there was only the network news for the longest
Right.
time.
Right, right,
There were
right.
the three major networks.
Yep.
They had it on then, and they
Dan
had your
Rather.
eleven
I remember
o'clock your
Dan
11 o'clock
Rather.
local news or whatever. Yeah, Dan
Yeah.
Rather, Walter Cronkite.
Right.
If you want to go back, um, with the advent of cable and CNN and 24-hour news, um, they had all this time they had to fill,
Right.
right? So they need to keep your eyeballs because their motivation is not to inform, it is to entertain, it is to keep you glued to your screen so
Right.
you will watch their ads
Right.
and their sponsors will make money. That's how for-profit media works.
Right.
So you ever notice like every time you turn on 24-hour cable news, it's always breaking news.
Panic. Yeah.
Like, there's not always important breaking news, but it pulls you in and it sucks you in. It tells you this is the most important thing in the world right now. Stay tuned.
Yes.
You
Is
know,
it? Is it? Probably not. Probably not. It's hard to tell right now because we have a lot of change with the new administration, and we have a lot of panic, and we have them saying things that are legit scary. Are they really going to happen? We don't know yet. So today is particularly bad with the news, and I am having a lot of my friends send me TikToks, YouTube clips, texting me articles. I have a lot of people sending me things they want me to talk about on the show. And I myself have to, I care about these people. I don't want them panicked. Is it something that I'm going to talk about on the show? Is it legit, real? And sometimes I just straight up call Tim Peck, the co-founder of Project Next,
Hmm.
and ask him because he knows more about national since he's ran for Congress and is running for Congress. He pays attention every day to the news, and he'll tell me whether we should be concerned about. And a lot of it is we have to wait and see. It's scary. It's not good right now. Will it stick? Will it hold? Can the court stop it? We don't know. So a lot of it is just wait and see. And that is not what these 24-hour news sources want us to feel. They want us panicked and continuing watching. Now,
It's like anxiety brain on a loop.
I think a lot of these platforms are starting to lose viewers. I have heard that
Yes.
MSNBC and stuff that their viewers are going down, and I get why. People cannot handle this amount of stress. It is too much, so we just turn it off. And that doesn't help us either because we kind of need to know what's going on in our community so we can work together and stop as much bad stuff as we can and help the good stuff, but you can't do that if you're panicked and stressed out. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
so upset at these news sources. And I say, hey, turn to us at Project Next. We'll do our best to help you without manipulating your emotions. We will try to straight up tell you what we think is going on and what we can do to stop it. And if we can't stop it, what we can do to survive it. Yeah. Okay. So media manipulating us, political parties definitely manipulating us. The biggest one, the one I'm most upset about, and you can tell me what one upsets you if you've got a different one. The one that most upsets me is before the election happened, the panic from the left saying we will lose our democracy if Trump wins. And then Trump wins, and people saying we've lost our democracy. And I had a lot of friends say it's done, it's gone. We're not going to have an election in 2 years. And I'm very mad at the left for pumping that out because that is not true. We have checks and balances in place. They're really being tested right now, but we still have fair and free elections. It's not like Russia and other countries. It's not like China. We still get to vote. We might have voter suppression in Indiana. It's hard to vote, but we can still vote. So in 2 years, we can go to the ballot box and we can change some of this if we don't like what these people we voted into can do. But Trump won. He won the election. It wasn't rigged. That's democracy. So everybody take a deep breath. It could be a lot worse in America. And I'm mad at the left. I'm mad at the media sources for saying things that aren't true. We still have a democracy. We have an election in 2 years. So my first tip for anybody that thinks that, anybody that knows friends and family that think that, let them know that's not true. They were scaring the crap out of us to make a profit off of us. What do you think, Scott? Do you have one that you're most upset about?
Well, I will say this: we definitely are in danger of losing our democracy, and it is precisely because and I really want to try and get away from like talk of like the left and the right because there's like a left and a right and a center. And what passes for the left in this country is generally what most of the world would think of as the center. And there is sort of they use these mind manipulation techniques in their own way to cultivate like a cult of inaction, a cult of
Yes.
the institutions are fine, the institutions are going to hold. You don't need to do anything. You just let the professionals handle this, and that is its own kind of manipulation, and it prevents us from going out and protesting, from getting active in politics and government ourselves, from being active participants in our democracy.
You're so
So,
right. Yes, you were exactly right. They want us to feel hopeless. So yes, we could lose our democracy Democracy is only as strong as the people we elect to represent us is a good a job as they do. So we're
And it's only as
elected.
strong as us.
It's only as strong as us. And if we're not paying attention, we lose it. So they want us to feel hopeless. They want us to turn off all of this stuff. They want us to just live our lives with blinders on so that they can continue to dismantle democracy. How do we work together, not be full of stress and anxiety, but care about each other and strengthen democracy, save it, protect it? And that's one big reason we started Project Next Media. We are trying to work together, regardless of who you voted for or didn't vote for, to save our country and to make our lives better. And it's a challenge because this manipulation happens so much and it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think
I
about?
want to.
Yeah, keep
Yeah.
going.
Well, I wanted to turn back to our friend Dustin here,
Sure.
who I spoke with last week, and his doctoral thesis that he defended last year to get his PhD, which I will link right here. Okay, it's called, catchy title, "Defending the Security of the Mind: A Male Survey of Thought Reform Literacy in South Dakota." Right? Not catchy, but this is the original research he performed is basically the first to prove, to show a positive statistical correlation between what he calls humility, and I think you called vulnerability earlier, but
Right.
it's the same concept. It is admitting that you yourself are susceptible. And he was the first person to prove that people who test positive for this humility, who admit that they are susceptible, are also more likely to recognize attempts to manipulate them. They are more likely to recognize that there are manipulation techniques going around. It's the people who think that, oh man, that can't happen to me,
Right.
that you got to watch out for.
Right. Because
And
then
typically it's
when
the people
any
who are in
signs,
information bubbles, right?
right, when any signs creep up on you that you are being manipulated, if you're unwilling, to admit that can happen to you, you keep going down that path of manipulation. So not being
The rabbit hole.
vulnerable,
Yeah.
not thinking about it and assessing yourself and admitting that you can make mistakes keeps you on that path of manipulation, cultish, brainwashing type behavior. And I think we probably all know at least one person who's gone down a path and have gotten to a point where they're hurting their own mental health, they're hurting their own relationships with their loved ones, and
Yeah.
maybe you've stopped talking to them because it's gotten so toxic, you know? So I think pretty much everybody knows someone like that. And if you don't know somebody like that, maybe see if it's you.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Maybe are you thinking these people that are telling you things are absolutely amazing and everything they tell you is true, or you constantly assessing? Because I tell you, I have my own heroes in leaders. I really look to strong leaders for guidance, and I
Yeah.
cannot trust everything everybody says all the time. Even my most treasured people that I admire can say something I don't agree with because maybe they haven't lived the same life I have, so we have different
Hmm.
experiences. Um, so when you view someone like they're a god, or when you view a news station as
Yeah.
perfect or an organization as perfect, that's when they get you. And we have to
Yes.
be so critical. We have to constantly be like, wait a minute. And that's exhausting. That's hard. We're all living our lives. We're all busy. We're all trying to survive and pay our bills. And oh, yeah. Another thing I wanted to touch on is the timing of when you are most susceptible to get manipulated. Do you remember what your doctor said on the episode?
Well, no, he did say when you're tired. Sleep deprivation is a big part of this. We in America are overworked, and perhaps over entertained, and we don't sleep enough. and that leaves us susceptible to
Yes.
thought reform
So
techniques.
I
Yes.
think that's one reason why Americans in particular are being manipulated at such a large scale. A lot of people have to work multiple jobs. A lot
Yep.
of people are maybe their parents and they're working and taking care of their kids, or they're working and taking care of their own aging parents or their friends or whoever is struggling. Maybe they're struggling with a health injury, anything. If you've got things extra on top of your normal hard life, that's when it is easier to be manipulated because our brain is a little bit in panic mode. I am realizing right now what I am going through in my own life is a makes me more susceptible to being manipulated. So I need to make
Yes.
sure I'm not making any life decisions, cutting anybody out of my life, saying anything mean to anybody. Right now I'm having plumbing issues and our basement flooded last night, and I didn't even know whether I was going to get to do this episode, but I'm pulling it off and all my family's outside. I can't be in the basement where I normally film. And I didn't get much sleep last night because we didn't catch it till 8 at night. And this is a time that's going to be harder for me. And just admitting it,
Yeah.
recognizing it, and pausing on me making big decisions right now until I get sleep, until things calm down, I think will help me. But also, I just always got to be aware I could be making some mistakes right now, you know? Um, does anybody else notice that? Anybody watching? I would love any comments about this. Do you notice when you're sleep deprived or overworked or your children are sick or you are sick? Is it harder
Yeah.
for you to catch when people are trying to hijack our emotions and our behaviors, you know? So yeah.
This is something Dustin talked about, and this is also something I talked about a couple months ago with Jen Senko, the documentary filmmaker who made The Brainwashing of My Dad. You can also find that one over at who's left.us. But one thing they both talked about is when there is a lot going on, right? When you're stressed, when you're tired, when there's a lot of change in the world around you, when a new administration takes power and does really unprecedented things,
Yeah, we're
you're
having a
looking
lot of
for
change in our country, in
you're
our state
looking
right
for
now.
answers. Yeah, and you're
Right.
trying to make sense of a lot of things. It's normal. It is normal for our brains in times of stress to look for the simplest answer because 10,000 years ago it could have been a mammoth and you're just
Right.
like you know, you need to make a snap decision. Not everything works like that. Not everything is life-threatening danger, but one of these mind manipulation techniques, like we talked about earlier, is to increase anxiety, to make everything stressful and make it so you're more easily controlled. Because it's a mind hack, you know,
Yes. I
and that's
listened
why
to
people turn to conspiracy theories.
Yes, conspiracy theories. Yes, yes. I listened to that episode you did. It was fantastic. Her documentary is excellent. It's where her father got manipulated by Fox News, and she did a whole documentary on how to get him out of it and what worked and what didn't work. And it really helps people that have loved ones that have been hijacked by something see how you can get them out. And it's not, you can't go at them and yell at them, say one magic sentence. It's a,
Mm,
this is going to take time. It is multiple conversations. It is a lot of empathy, love, not losing your temper, even when they say things that hurt your feelings. And it is very hard. And a lot of people just
yeah,
tune out and say, that's it, I'm cutting these people off. And I understand why people do that. I get it, and I think sometimes that's necessary, but if you can handle it, if you want that relationship and you want that person to get out
yeah,
of that brainwashing, there are things you can do. There are steps. So, let's say you've got, let's just do Jen's example. Your dad has been hijacked by something.
yeah,
And they're in panic mode and they're in survivor mode. So they take the easiest solution. So they're listening to conspiracy theories and believing them. They're thinking there's litter
Hmm.
boxes in classrooms. They're thinking
Yep.
the earth is flat or whatever. What
There's all
do
sorts.
you
Yeah.
There's all sorts of them. There's thousands of them. We can't possibly tackle every single conspiracy theory, disinformation, misinformation. It's too many. That's one of the ways they can control us. They just throw out so much fake stuff. Let's take a loved one. Let's take a dad. They're believing things that are fake. How do we save our loved ones? What do we do?
Well, the most important thing you can do is to maintain that relationship, right? Like
Yes.
you said,
Yes.
you don't cut them off. Now, you might want to spend less time around them. You might want to
Right.
avoid a lot of subjects,
And you
but
don't have to take it. If they're saying cruel things to you, you can get out of there, but maybe just don't stop the relationship. Just stop that conversation, the hurtful thing.
yeah, and like you said, it comes from a place of empathy, right? You have to understand that person that is mean to you all the time, that is angry and yelling and paranoid, that's not really them. They've been manipulated. They've had their minds hijacked, basically. Um, the core of the person is still there, but you have
Yes.
to sort of get them back. You have to lead them back out slowly, like Hansel and Gretel style, to get them out of that rabbit hole.
The way I say is be angry at the people that manipulated your loved one, not your loved
Yes.
one. And don't blame them. It's not necessarily their fault. Maybe they watched one YouTube video that led them to another YouTube video that was conspiracy theory, that led them to a
Yeah.
disinformation, that led them to another one, that took them in a plot, and all of a sudden they're in QAnon or whatever. They're believing QAnon or whatever
Yeah.
it is. It's not necessarily their fault. We have all these outside sources working so hard to manipulate us. So, allowing them grace for having been led down this wrong path, blaming the people that are actually at fault and continuously loving them while also they don't have you don't need to be around them if they're causing you mental harm. You don't have to take the conversation. You can say, Dad, I don't want to talk about this right now. I love you. I'll talk to you later and hang up, or say, I've got to leave. I don't want to talk to you about this. This is hurting my feelings. This is hurting me. And just being as honest as you can while at the same time not losing your temper, which is hard to do. You know, Online, when it's people you don't know and they say really
Yeah.
cruel things, which I have to say, since I'm running the social media for Project Next Media, I'm getting stuff, I'm getting comments.
Yeah.
To not say mean comments back and to also not let it hurt my mental health is something I have
Yeah.
to work on. It
It
because
doesn't help. Yeah. It
it
pushes them
makes things
farther
worse.
away.
Right.
And yeah, and it leaves you susceptible to,
Right. And then it could take me down a path of more extreme because my feelings are hurt by what they
yeah.
said.
And this is
Um,
essentially how social media has worked over the last several years,
yeah.
right? I think that's something you want to talk about. The algorithm is, in its way, its own form of social control, right? Like
Yes.
us as content creators, um, yeah, we have the option to put out what we want to talk about in the way we want to talk about it, but the algorithm rewards people for talking about things in the most extreme way
Yes.
possible.
Yes.
Rage bait, clickbait,
Right.
something to
They
get people
want the
worked up
rage
and
bait.
angry is good
Yes.
for eyeballs. Yeah.
They're trying to tell us what works on their platform, and different things work on different platforms. I'm on like 7 of them right now,
Yep.
and they all like the rage bait. They all like it. And I want Project Next Media to grow, but I also don't want to alarm the people watching it. So, one of the things that worked, ironically, is calling out the rage bait works. People
Yeah.
like that because they are recognizing this is happening. So, that's one thing that seems to work that I'm going to keep doing. I feel like the more that people realize it's happening, we can help viewers to stop clicking on those things and help their mental health. Project Next Media, the entire the entire basis, our main mission statement is to make your life better. So if we can help you avoid this emotional manipulation
Yeah.
online, then that helps our mission. Um, but it's hard. We're new, we're just a few months old. We're still figuring out the best ways to help everyone. Um,
Hmm.
it's I think a lot of people are recognizing it too. It's not just us, thankfully. And if we can just reach as many of our friends and family as possible and get them on board. Here's a great Terry's one of our wonderful person that watches our show. She said, as a trans person, it's hard to tackle misinformation because disregard facts that go against their positions. Um, I would say this one is probably one of the biggest disinformation, misinformation things happening is on trans people. And Terry,
Yeah.
love to you, my friend. I wish I could just
Yeah.
put a warm bubble of love and protection around all trans
Yeah.
people.
I'm
I
sorry you got to deal with that.
I am
It
sorry. I have a
stinks.
cousin that I worry about, and all of us that are not trans, if we can speak to people that are scared of trans people in a loving way and not yell at them, and if we can continuously do it over time, the people that are so scared because they're believing the fake
Yeah.
manipulation, the fake things about trans people, I think that's one thing we can do. Um,
And can we talk? This is a good maybe entrance point into talking about some of the tactics maybe that
yeah,
psychological
sure.
manipulators use,
Yeah.
especially because we're talking about the trans issue and like when people say um uh, the anti-trans folks say things like child genital mutilation, right? That is supposed to sound
So
so
scary.
extreme and scary, and it okay, well that's not what's happening.
That's
No
not what's
one's
happening.
doing that
I
anywhere,
met
right?
I met
It's
a
meant to scare you.
I met a grandma at the park by my house that said, "Do you know at our local public school teachers are telling boys they could be girls and girls they could be boys?" And I was like, "That's not true. I promise you, I'm friends with the teachers at the school that my kids go to. No teacher is saying that." So somewhere somebody told her that and she believed it, and that's a way
Right. Well,
to
because what's
scare people
happening,
from trans
yeah,
people, and that is not happening. So there's a lot of fake things that make you panic, get you fear-based so you're in survival mode so that you can't think clearly and
hmm,
you're too busy with your stressful life to stop and go, "Wait a minute, is this a fear tactic to manipulate me?" And then they take a deeper path and then they read another article that's fake. And then they just keep going down to where they've created this boogeyman monster of trans people. And instead, the reality is these group of people are some of the most abused,
yeah,
harassed, and underprotected in
vulnerable,
our
yeah,
country, most vulnerable people in our country. And a lot of people don't know how to say it because so many people, so many of our friends and family believe the fake trans things that they're scared they're
yes,
going to get yelled at. So they don't speak up for them. And I'm just going to tell you we've got to speak up for them, but we have to do it in loving, empathetic ways because if we yell at the people scared
yeah,
of trans people, it's just going to make them more scared of trans people. So hate, yelling, any type of violence, all of that's just going to hurt trans people more. We have to come at it at a loving place, and we can't expect the trans people to be the ones doing it because they're trying to survive. We don't want somebody taking their fear and harming trans people, which we know
yes,
happens in our country. So, my hairstylist told me this beautiful story that she wears a necklace in support of trans people, and she had a young person who cannot voice his own preferences to his family. He goes to a Christian
yeah,
school. He saw it. He normally doesn't say anything to her. He hides his hair. He wears a hoodie and his
yeah,
face lit up and he pulled his hoodie back and he had bracelets on showing support. And just him seeing his hairstylist that she supported that gave him so much hope. So I think it is important that me as a white woman that has a husband, that I do my part to show I care about trans people and I'm not scared of them. I think that does more good
Hmm.
than we realize, and we all should be doing that if we can. And I'm not going to
Absolutely.
be wearing, stuff every day, but if I can protect these people any way I can, I will try.
Yeah, I
Um,
want to bring something up here, Sarah. So
sure.
Terry says that when my friends and I voted, we overheard an old
Oh,
person saying he couldn't vote for McCormick because she wanted sex changes for kids. Okay, now again, that's not true. But
no.
what I want to talk about is what technique is being used right there when folks frame it that way. What they're doing, and I've pulled up here on the screen now. This is just Wikipedia talking about a book called Thought Reform and the Psychology of Totalism by Robert J. Lifton. And he's kind of the preeminent scholar in mind control. Been doing it for decades. Book came out in like 1963.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Yeah. Now, and this is one of the things I think was most valuable when I talked to Dustin was he sort of went through these with me. And one of the techniques of thought reform is loading the language. Okay. According to Wikipedia here, it says the group interprets or uses words and phrases in new ways so that often the outside world does not understand. So, again, sex changes for children. That's not what's happening.
Nope.
Okay.
But it's very scary.
Grooming children to be trans. Like, listen, saying trans people exist in the world. And yes, sometimes people, start as a boy and become a woman, or start as a girl and become a man. Like, yes, to say that that happens is not grooming your child and telling them that they should get a gender assignment operation. Okay. This is loaded language that thought manipulators use to scare people.
And when you hear this from your friends and loved ones, when they say these scare words on whatever subject, what I found helps is to say, I am so sorry. You have been lied to. That is not true. Not
Yeah.
saying, don't ever say you are wrong, because it's not that they're wrong. They've been misled. If you just
Yes.
start out getting mad at them and say you are wrong, you've turned them off.
I
Yeah.
need to go.
Okay, go get daddy, or go get
and I'll and
daddy or
I'll
Micah.
and I'll hop in here and say another thing there. That's another technique is sacred science. So the group's doctrine or ideology is considered the ultimate truth beyond all questioning or dispute, and truth is not to be found outside of this. So God created man, and woman alone is sacred science, right? You cannot divert from that, no matter what all of the actual scientific experts on sex and gender say, right? You do not
And,
step
and
outside of the leader or the group's strict way of thinking.
sometimes people say something that I know is fake, but I can't immediately pull up the fact to prove it, like in that
Yeah,
second that I have their attention. So I will say things like, I'm pretty sure you're misled and that's not true. And can you give me a
yeah.
fact
Where'd you hear
that
that?
proves it? So with the litter boxes one, I really tried to, while I was running for state house, tackle that because it's being used, litter boxes in classrooms is being used to get people to want to destroy public education. And it's not true. So I say, can you tell me a school and a classroom, and I will go to the school myself and see for myself if there's a litter box in there. I guarantee you that is a lie because it was always their kid's friend saw it. It was never the kid. And
Yeah,
I've said that multiple times. No one has messaged me with with a school or a classroom. So you can ask nicely for proof. Say, I'm sorry, I think you've been lied to. That is not, I'm pretty sure that's not true. Can you tell me a valuable thing where I could fact check it? And I will. And that helps diffuse the person so they don't feel stupid. But if you get them feeling stupid, they're going to go even harder on that misinformation, disinformation. And you need to come from a place of love and empathy. If I'm saying something wrong and you hear it, Scott, I want you to say,
Yeah.
Sarah, I don't think that's right. And I'm not going to yell at you because I want to say the right things. And so for me
Yeah.
to be vulnerable enough, and I care about you and I know you care about me, to know that you're not trying to attack me. And you wouldn't attack me. You would say, Sarah, I think that might be wrong. Here's an article about it. You know, um, we need to get to a trusting place to stop this stuff.
If you can maintain that relationship with people
Yes. So
and
don't cut them out just because they think
have
so.
them sort of explain their logic to you, a lot of times you can walk them into seeing their own logical fallacies.
Right. And then that start so if you can get the person that's been brainwashed to realize one thing they thought is false, that usually takes them on a path of, well, what else do I think that's not true? And that's what worked with the woman that saved her dad. That seems to
Mhm.
be the best technique. Get them realizing one thing is not true, then very kindly, it might take weeks or months, get them to another thing. My brother-in-law thought things that weren't true with school shootings with Parkland and David Hogg. And he said it
Oh my
one
god, yeah.
time at a dinner, and this was during the pandemic. And I said, that's not true. And he looked it up. And then he's like, that wasn't true. And that led him on a path to getting out of that. So he's not
Yeah.
following whatever algorithm was showing him the fake information about those poor kids that were murdered, and then it got him out of that wrong thinking. And
Yes.
and it was just one, I just said one sentence kindly.
That's
Eh,
all it takes sometimes is Lifton calls this totalism, right? So whether it's Fox News or, Joe Rogan or InfoWars or some conspiracy theory or your high control church, whatever it is, if you find out they're wrong about one thing, maybe you start to ask, well,
what else have I been
what
lied
else are they
to?
wrong about?
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't find yourself ever saying, you know, well, could I be wrong? Am
Yeah.
I in the call? Could
Right.
I have been misled?
Right.
If you never find yourself asking yourself those questions, you might be in a cult. You might
And
be manipulated and in control.
religion could probably be a whole nother episode that we could do. But where I live, a lot of the women that I'm friends with are very into their
Sure.
churches. And
Which is
some of it is
fine.
wonderful and lovely and fantastic, and they do so much to help our community. But then sometimes I see them believing things like the man should be in charge of the household, the man makes the
Yeah.
decisions, the woman shouldn't work. Sometimes they get into those type of things,
Yeah.
and that kind of breaks my heart because I really love these women. I've become friends with them, and I see them working themselves to death, and they don't really take a lot of time for themselves, and
Another mind
that's
control
when I'm
technique.
like, if they could just realize they don't have to listen to 100% of what their human-led imperfect leaders are saying, and they could use their own judgment to say, I like this bit of the religion, but I don't like that bit, instead of 100% believing everything, I think it would help
Well,
the women that I care about.
there's
I
another
want to talk.
demand for purity. Yes. Got to
Yes,
believe
yes.
everything though. If you don't
You don't
believe,
you don't
it's
have to
it's the
believe
word
everything.
of God,
Yeah.
Sarah. Like if
You
you
don't
literally
have to
believe
believe
that, then
everything, I
you've got to believe
promise.
everything. Yeah,
You don't
exactly.
have to
So,
believe everything, and that's the thing about religion that gets me, is people thinking they have to believe 100% of what is coming out of, and it's not necessarily the Bible because the Bible contradicts itself all the time. It's believing
yes.
100% of whoever the leaders are or whatever that type of
Yeah.
church believes. And just so you know, if you go to a church, that's great because it's a wonderful community. It's fantastic. My husband takes the kids to his family church, and I don't have a problem with it. But he doesn't believe 100% of what the church says. and we will talk it to the
These can
kids
be
so that they
metaphors.
understand
Yeah.
they don't have to believe everything that church is pumping out, but you can use the community and the love to benefit your life. It's tricky. It's tricky. I want to talk about one more thing for the trans issue. Terry, if you're still on, I absolutely adored the Netflix documentary Will and Harper with Will Ferrell. Have you seen that, Scott?
I have not seen it.
Oh, it's beautiful. So Will Ferrell, one of the most famous comedians in the world, he's Elf. He was in SNL and all kinds of other movies. One of his best friends comes out as trans, and she was a head writer at SNL, and that's where they met and they stayed in touch. And Will wanted to be a good friend. He didn't understand because he's a white guy that's happily married to a woman. And he goes on a trip with his friend who's transitioned. So Harper used to have she was a man and she's transitioned. And they're close enough and they go on this road trip and they even stop in Indianapolis and they go to a Pacers game and meet Eric Holcomb, our former governor. They go on this trip and they ask each other really hard questions. And it was so beautiful. I'm running because that's when I watch my stuff, is when I'm running on the treadmill. I'm crying, happy tears. I'm like, and my heart is expanding I always think that's a funny picture. I was like, get video of me crying and running. And Harper explains how much she hated herself. She always felt like she was in the wrong body. She wanted to wear girl clothes. And if she wore a girly pair of pants, she would get called gay and put them up. And she'd be like, why am I like this? I hate myself. And it wasn't until she was much older that she finally allows herself to be her. And then to see that, oh, she hated herself. She tried to kill her, to harm herself. She tried to end her life because she didn't want to feel this way, because culturally it's so it's so frowned upon and feared and hated, the hate that people have for trans people. And she finally does it. They go on this road trip. And the beautiful thing about it is a bunch of times they're in very rural places and the people are loving and accepting. And you don't
Yes.
think they're going to be. You think there's going to be hate. You're watching and you're fearful for Harper and you care about her. And this is real life documentary. And you see the people being accepting, these red rural places. And I'm like, yep, people in Palmyra, they would, most of them would love and accept them. I know they would. I love this town. I love this red rural town. I know they would be accepting if Harper stopped here. And then sometimes they go places and they're not. And just hearing Harper tell it, since I'm not trans, but I care about these people, hearing her explain it gave me more empathy and understanding. It's not like I wasn't caring about them before, but it helped me since I'm not trans. So watching it, maybe you have a partner that's pretty, maybe they're pretty liberal and progressive, but they are scared of trans. Watching that documentary with your partner could really help. Especially if they like Will Ferrell. I'm really proud of Will for doing that. That was really brave of him. That's one of the reasons I like him so much. He's so brave. So anyway, yeah.
That's one of those things that so many people will be kind once they know you, and
they
you
know
can
not to
break
fear
down
you.
that barriers. Yeah, and it allows, that distance of not knowing somebody personally allows you to sort of your mind to run wild and fill in the gaps and make a story of whatever you want to believe, right?
We're all humans. Most people are good. People that are in power use our fears to control us. And we have to always remember we're all human beings. Most of us are good. Most of us are just doing our best, making mistakes, trying hard to provide for ourselves and our families. And if we can always remember that and just stay, wait a minute, you're telling me I should fear this person because they're different in this way? Are you trying to control me? And in realizing that it works a lot of times, that's why they're doing it so much. It works.
Same.
Can really
We are.
protect us.
We're trying to control you. Not really. But we are at Project Next trying to influence you. I
That's
pulled up
right.
on the screen here the influence continuum by Dr. Stephen Hassan, who is one of the preeminent like thought reform and cult experts in the country. And so influence can be constructive and healthy, or it can be destructive and unhealthy. So we're really trying to have our influence here be the constructive and healthy kind.
You're so true, because we're not just pumping out, we're not a news company, we're a media company. We're not just pumping out facts. We are trying to influence you for the good. I always did that as a fifth grade teacher, and I told kids that. I said, I'm not up here just telling you facts. I'm trying to get you to love to read, to have empathy, to have a love for knowledge, to be able to associate what's fake from I'm trying to do all kinds of things in 180 days. And I tell them that. But I'm trying to help you, but you're going to meet people and outside forces doing the yellow arrow there on the screen, trying to do the things that
Mhm.
harm you so that they can control you. So, full on recognize we are trying to influence you to make your life better and to make your loved ones in your community better so that we can work together and make the state and the country better. That we are doing that.
Yeah.
And
But we're
I
not
don't think,
brainwashing you. We're telling you we're doing it.
I don't want to be manipulative. I want you to realize our purpose that we are trying to do, and hopefully we bring some value to your life. And if we're not, let us know what we can do to be better, because we're still learning and growing. Yeah, I'm glad you put that chart out. Think about the people in your life, the news sources, the social media things. Are they influencing you for the good or the bad? Sometimes my friends and my family will say something to me that's judgmental about a person. Like a person did something that could maybe have hurt, they could have done it to hurt my feelings, or they could have done it and not know. And I'll ask them and they'll tell me something, and I'll be like, at first I'll be like, yeah, you're right. And then I'll think about it. I'm like, wait a minute. We're all coming from a place of hurt. These people care about me. They're mad at that person. They want me to be mad at that person because they're hurt. I'm like, wait a minute. So sometimes the manipulation doesn't come from a mean place, it comes from a protective place. And I think that's where they get us. They're doing it out of love to protect you, but it's not healthy. So every time somebody tells me I should think a certain way about a person, I have to stop and assess. And sometimes I call up friends. A really good one's Corinne. Sometimes I call up Corinne and I say, this person told me this thing. What do we think? Like, and then sometimes I can figure it out for myself. Sometimes I call Tim. I've called you before, Scott. We are working together here. Since we're doing this media company, we get a lot of manipulation thrown on ourselves. I get it a lot as a leader of the Democrats in Harrison County and as a leader for the county. I've put myself out there. I'm trying to save my county. I'm trying to save the schools and Palmyra. And I've put myself out there. I get manipulated, or they try to manipulate me. Um, and so this topic is so dear to my heart, because when you're a leader and you have a little bit more power than the average person, you get more of it. And it is increased since I've started Project Next. It has increased since I ran for state house. So I am constantly every day evaluating. And I've made mistakes before. I've believed untrue things. And then once I found it out, I had to take the time to call anybody that I told the untrue things, say, that was a rumor. It wasn't true. Don't believe it. So it's work. And not
It
everybody has
is.
the time to do that. Not everybody has the time to track down. Wait a minute, they told me a manipulating thing.
Yeah.
Now I got to tell my friend and this person that I told. I got to stop it. Not everybody has that time.
When you're in a position of leadership like you are, Sarah, it's important to influence people ethically, right?
Yes. Yes.
And to admit when you have been wrong. That again, that's one of the techniques they're talking about, or that Lifton talks about here, is demand for purity. Right? You can never be wrong. So
Get rid of it.
you're not that kind of person who can never be wrong. You admit you're wrong. You do not demand purity from
yeah.
the people you're trying to influence.
I'm 44 and I've gotten a lot better at this. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I did not admit I was wrong near as much as I do now. I was more of a, because I grew up in a household that didn't admit they were wrong. I've had to learn how to say sorry. I've had to learn how to be like forgiving of myself. I've had to learn how to say, not necessarily that I made a mistake, but people told me these things, which led me to believe something wrong. And now I've got to fix it. I am much stronger at 44 than I was a few years ago on this topic. And I think I'm hopeful that it will allow me to continue to be a good leader. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to think wrong things and I'm going to admit it. I'm going to admit it as soon as I catch it. And I'm going to do my best to clean it up. But I promise you, I will think wrong things in the future. I will be manipulated. It's going to happen to me. And how I handle it is the important thing. And I'm going to give myself grace and I'm going to forgive myself for thinking wrong things. And I'm going to forgive you. Anybody listening that's my friend of mine, you think something wrong and you come to me and you say, I thought this wrong thing, but now I found out it's this. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm going to be so freaking proud of you for being honest with yourself and with me. Like, what a loving gift that you've admitted this thing, because we're messing up all the time.
The most important thing I think I tried to teach my kids as they're growing up is the most important thing you can know is that you don't know.
You're so
if
right.
you find yourself always having the answer and never being wrong, you should probably question yourself.
That's such a good place to end this. I want to talk about this again. We can get some more points. If you liked this, please share it. Please text a friend that might benefit from this episode. We would love you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's one word, Project Next Movement. And then if you're on Facebook, you can just click that share button and share it with your friends. You can also like click on the link of however you're watching it and just texting it to anybody, because I bet you know at least one person who may benefit from this conversation. We want to make so many people's lives better. If you'd like to help us at Project Next, we are a brand new independent media company. Here, you take it away.
Absolutely. So, yes, we are a brand new company and we could use seed funding in that regard. So please, if you can, consider going over to heylmer.com/Project Next, where you can contribute to Project Next and get yourself a gift in the process. We've got stickers at the $10 level and magnets at the $20 level. We've got really nice t-shirts, which Sarah is modeling so beautifully right there. And really comfy sweatshirts if you contribute up at the $200
hoodies,
level.
yeah.
Again, that's
The hoodies.
heylmer.com.
I know my friend Pam just got one. I'm waiting for her to send me a picture of it. Elmer makes really good quality products. His shirts are my favorite shirts to wear. I have about 7 of Hey Elmer shirts, and they always last a long time. You can wash them hundreds of times and they still look nice. So yeah, that helps us a ton if you can, if you are financially able to. If you are not financially able to, please just share our stuff. That is free. And we have some amazing
like, share, subscribe, do all the things.
subscribe. We're on podcasts now. What's our Substack? Don't we have a website now?
We do. It is it is at projectnextindiana.com, which will take you to our Substack, which I'm still working on having all our video archives up there, but all of the episodes are available as a podcast for download there, and the last couple are up on video now.
I just want to shout out and thank you, Scott. You have been a big mental health to me, because I don't know how to do all of this tech stuff, and you really gone above and beyond to help Project Next Media grow, and you're really good at it. You're developing the pictures to get the word out. That's Scott. He made that. I love it so much. He's got new ones coming out. We've got new shows coming out. You're helping with the website. You've done the podcasts. You've helped with the Substack that we have. I'm just so thankful for you. You've been a really big benefit to my life. If I think about, this has been the worst year and the best year, you're on that why it's been the
Yeah.
best. So thank you for all that you're doing. I'd like to thank Elmer. He's a friend of mine, Elmer Ramos, who has Hey Elmer. He is a friend that really spent time making quality things that if you want to support us, you can get a gift from his store. We have really exciting shows coming up this week. Wednesday at noon, premiere episode of Mental Fitness. I don't know if you have it, if you could pull up the amazing graphic you did.
I
Scott
bet
just
I
made
bet I
this.
can make that
Yeah,
happen.
make that happen. Scott just made this like a couple days ago, and I love it so much. So, Mental Fitness is a show I'm going to do with my friend Ellen Kelly. She's a retired therapist. We film the Dr. Tim shows at her place, and she is somebody that has already helped Project Next a lot. We are going to do the premiere episode this Wednesday, February. I don't know what day that is, 19th maybe. I can't do math. This Wednesday, February 17th at noon. There it is. Look at that. We're going to be talking about anxiety. I think that is a big problem a lot of people have. I know I suffer from it and have to know the signs to calm myself down. We're going to do episode 1 on anxiety, and not everybody can afford therapy. It's expensive. It's
It
hard
is
to get
expensive.
into. It's hard to get into, and it's time consuming. So not everybody has time for therapy, and those are the people that need it the most. The people that are overworked, stressed out, anxious, they need therapy the most. So we're going to try to offer you free therapy from a retired therapist. If you watch live, we will try to answer your own personal questions. So this is someone that's trained um in this stuff. And I've also suffered from anxiety a lot and have really learned some tips. So we are going to do our
Same.
best to help you. If any of you listening to this have ever suffered from anxiety, maybe you have a child that is suffering from it, please tune in. And if you miss the live, that's fine. You might have to work. You might not get your lunch break at noon or whatever. You can watch it after the live on all of our places: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch. So thank you for making that awesome graphic. I love the brain. I love the what is it that you said? Don't skip brain day. Don't skip brain
Don't
day.
skip brain
You thought of
day.
that. That's adorable. And then Scott, tell us about a little bit about our Thursday show at 5:30 in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time, because this show is pretty cool.
I'm really excited. Thursday,
too.
we are having Dr. Jennifer McCormick, Destiny Wells, and Karen Talion, all candidates for the Democratic Party state chair in Indiana. They will be on for a forum, as it were. It's not a debate per se. It's more of a
And
panel.
it's not a forum. This is going to be different. It's not boring. We are going to ask them questions about you, about how we can make our lives better. What are their plans to make our lives better? It's not a Democrat thing. Whoever is chair of this party will be in charge of reorganizing the state so that we can save our state for every person living here. Whoever is chair will have so much power and leadership and influence over us. We really want to ask the questions that I'm going to say most forums and panels don't get to. Like, I'm going to ask a sexism question. I'm going to ask a question about gatekeeping, because there's a lot of that going on right now in the Democratic Party, where they don't allow people at the table who want a space, who want to come in and help save our state. And I want to know, what's your plan to allow these people to come in so we can grow, instead of kicking people out because you want to stay in power? How are you getting the table bigger and adding to it so that we can grow and save Indiana? Anybody that lives in Indiana, I would say anybody that's paying attention knows things aren't going well. It doesn't matter who you voted for. Things are not going well here. So this is huge.
We're
I'm
out
so
of
excited
balance.
about it.
You know,
Yeah,
we're out of
Sorry
balance.
to interrupt you there. I'm just really excited about it. It's going to be me, you, and Tim interviewing these three. I would love, is it Derek Camp is also?
We're hoping to get Derek Camp.
I'm
He's
hoping
the
we
former
can
Allen
reach him, and
chair.
he will also join, because he is also running for chair. So anybody that knows Derek Camp, please reach out to them. Encourage this Thursday at 5:30. We want to. We've reached out. We haven't heard back from him yet. So yeah. Okay.
In media parlance, we are efforting him. Yes.
Yeah, what do you call that? I don't know. I don't know the right words. Okay, you guys. I want to thank you, Scott. Thank my husband. Oh, we're almost ready for live shows. Before our basement flooded, my husband spent like 6 hours getting that equipment that we got to do live on location shows. He got it working. He's got it
Glad
working.
for that.
So
gonna look
we're
great.
gonna practice with a he's gonna make his overnight oats because that helps with cholesterol. We talked about it in Dr. Tim. He's gonna make that, and we're gonna do a nighttime live. Him making that, and we'll put the recipe up. But right now we're dealing with our basement being flooded, so who knows when that's gonna happen. But yeah. Yeah, thanks to Tim and Corinne, Tim Peck and Corinne Straight. There are other co-hosts who do a lot for us. And see you Wednesday at 12 and Thursday at 5:30. And then, or you can watch us anytime. Please share. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Thank you, those that commented. Thank you, those that share our stuff. Thank you to those that support us by going to heyaylmer.com/projectnext. And have the most wonderful, wonderful week. And get the word out about manipulation. Let's save some people we love, right? Let's save them.
Buy some merch.
Yes, help us out. Hey, join the club. There's only 4 of these out right now. And I think actually Elmer went ahead and printed the people that purchased them already, that sponsored our program. So some people are going to start wearing more. So these are going to start popping up, but they're pretty rare for right now. So be one of the first. Love you guys.
All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Thanks for doing this, Scott. You're fantastic. Thanks for all the research and all the stuff you pulled up. You're amazing.
Anything for you, Sarah.
Bye, you guys. Love you all. Take care. Thanks for sharing. Bye.